welcome to Real Life Talks. I'm your host, Yvonne Heath, author of the book Love Your Life to Death, and founder of the I Just Showed Up movement. So joining me today are Michelle, Woolfrey, and Licio.
Yeah.
Licio. Michelle, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to meet you.
Thank you so much for having us. We're really excited to be here too.
Yeah, so a mutual friend of ours just said, you have to meet Michelle. And it didn't take long for me to realize why. And your story has really touched my heart for many reasons. But I just want you to share your story, how your life was, how it changed, and where we are today.
All right. So I grew up in a pretty normal kid. Happy, healthy, mom, dad, family, big house, all the things, the work, summer camp in the summer, everything. And when I was 15, I started to really struggle in school. And I started to struggle with headaches and dizziness and just feeling unwell. And over the process of the next 2 years, it was discovered that I had a rare brain condition. And the major complication from this rare brain condition was it took my vision.
Wow.
And left me functionally blind.
Functionally blind. So going back a bit, a 15-year-old with those symptoms, they're kind of vague symptoms.
Yes.
And you think, okay, is this just hormones? This is a complaining teenager.
Anxiety.
Anxiety. So it took a long time to...
It took a very long time. So with my condition, there's sort of a set way it presents, and I didn't present in that way.
Okay.
So they had a very difficult time figuring out what exactly was going on. And it wasn't until they had the final piece of the picture that then all the other symptoms sort of made sense. But by then I was 16 going on 17, and I had lost a huge chunk of my sight. I hadn't lost it all yet, but I had lost a huge chunk of it. I was losing my hearing at the time, and I was pretty sick. I was walking with a walker. I wasn't able to go to school.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that piece of it. So it was affecting more than obviously your vision.
Yeah, it made me so dizzy that I couldn't walk from one side of the room to the other unassisted. I was sleeping in a bed that was propped up at a 45-degree angle by cement blocks because I couldn't lie flat. It was a challenging time.
I can't even wrap my head around how difficult that would be for a 15-year-old and for your parents.
Yeah.
The fear and what was that like for you? I mean, truly,
it was
terrifying.
It was a really tough time. I think it's hard to see your kid suffering and not be able to do anything about it. And to just feel total lack of control.
Helpless.
There was nothing that they could do. They weren't doctors. They didn't know what this was. They had taken me to the best doctors in the world, and even they didn't know what it was. And so they just sat there and watched me disintegrate basically into a shell of who I was. And I was a pretty active, outgoing, happy kid up until this all started.
Wow. So when you were diagnosed, was there surgery they could do, or there medications? Was there anything that they could do?
Yeah, so I started on, so the treatment is a twofold. It's spinal taps, regular basis, lumbar punctures, and then it's also a fairly aggressive medication that you take. And so with that medication comes a lot of side effects. And so more medication to balance the side effects, and then more medications to balance those side effects of those side effects.
Yes,
and so it just became a whole mess. And that's how I ended up losing the last chunk of my vision. Is I came off the meds too early. The brain condition spiked again. It took the last chunk of my vision. And I was 17 at the time, being 17 and knowing what that was and how terrified I was, I didn't speak up as early as I probably should have.
Right.
To get the help that I needed, and so I lost the last of my vision as a result.
Wow. So just going back a bit, what did spinal taps? So what did that do? Where you had to go for them more frequently?
Yes.
Oh, so they're really not that fun.
They're really painful. They're really painful. They're not a lot of fun. And so because the side effects of the medication were so severe, I took a lower dose in order to sort of balance that part out.
Right.
But then the compromise to that was I had to have spinal taps in conjunction with that treatment. And
so just getting rid of
spinal fluid.
So you had excessive spinal fluid? Okay.
So my body creates too much spinal fluid and it doesn't drain properly.
Okay.
For some reason.
Without the pressure on your
And so it crushes your brain.
Wow, crushes, literally.
Yes.
So you had crushing headaches, did you?
I had crushing headaches. My face, I looked like I gained about 20 pounds in my face because all of the soft orifices in your face get pushed out. I was having issues with my hearing, as I said, my heart, my lungs, it was shutting down my whole system.
Wow. So at 17, you were going through all this, and then you obviously turned a corner at some point. And when did that happen?
So I was, sort of the second round we went through, we determined that, I think in the beginning the doctors were hopeful that this was sort of just a
temporary
thing. Yeah, it was maybe I'd hit my head or, a temporary thing and they could fix it. And it sort of became clear that this wasn't temporary. It wasn't really something I was going to grow out of as the hormones in my body died down.
Right.
And so they put me on the medication and I've been on it ever since. And so just taking it daily and monitoring my symptoms, seeing my specialist regularly has kept me relatively in the clear for the last 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
So do you still experience the dizziness? You're walking, you have a service dog, Lucio here, wonderful dog, but do you still experience all the other symptoms?
I don't, because my pressure is at a normal level. Okay. But if I come off my medication, my pressure starts to climb and then I start to get those symptoms back.
Right. And so on the medication, do you have side effects from them?
Yeah. So it makes the side effects that I mainly deal with, it gives me neurological pain in my hands and feet. So it hurts to type and it hurts to walk. And then
is that all just, just hurts to walk? Okay. That's, yeah.
And then the other thing is that it makes food taste really weird.
Interesting.
So it changes the palate in your mouth. And so I end up kind of tastes like vinegar all the time. Like
food always
has that kind of like vinegary flavor to it.
Well, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it treats the headaches, but it also gives me headaches. So balancing that out.
Yes.
And just
those things. Now, your hearing, is it back 100%?
Yeah.
Yes. You seem to hear well. And is your vision completely, do you see anything at all?
I see lights.
You see lights.
I see lights and shadows a little bit of movement in light. But not really enough to be able to say like, oh, there's Yvonne on the street walking towards me.
But am I like a glowing light right now?
You're
like
actually
a halo?
nothing. But if you moved in front of the lights, you might be something.
I was hoping that I was just,
you have this shine.
Yeah, this halo glowing. So, wow, Michelle, that is a journey obviously we wouldn't wish on anyone. And mentally, emotionally, psychologically, the impact of that. Tell me about that part, because there's no one could go through all that without a lot of.
I really, really struggled with my mental health, and I still do. It sent me into a really deep depression, and I struggled with a lot of anxiety. I was too scared to leave my house.
Wow.
And so at the worst of it, I slept on the couch with a blanket over my head because the world was just too scary. My symptoms were too bad. I didn't feel good, and I didn't have any desire to do anything. And so I really, really, really struggled with it. And it led to self-harm as a coping tool, and a suicide attempt eventually. And I just, since then, have worked through a lot of that, but I still have anxiety and I still have depression, and so I still deal with that on a daily basis, work with a psychiatrist and therapy and medication to sort of keep me going in the right direction.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because a lot of people struggle with all anxiety and depression, and it's an ongoing, you just have
Yep.
to keep working at it and practice. I just interviewed someone who wrote the book, Elka Schultz wrote the book Anxiety Warrior, and we're talking about it has to be practice, and you keep, when you fall, you have to keep going, and if it's an ongoing struggle, well, you just have to keep going,
Yep.
because that's something that you have gone through in your life that was very traumatic, very traumatic, absolutely.
Yep. And I was very fortunate that I had parents who fought for me, and fought for services for me. And I was at Sick Kids. I was in a world-class hospital that was doing mental health for youth before anyone was doing mental health for youth. And so I got access to services that kids dream about, and the system that we have, that we have today. And so, I saw a psychiatrist for years. I saw a social worker for years. I learned the healthy coping tools and how to recognize my anxiety and how to work with it instead of against it.
Right.
And, what were my strengths as opposed to my weaknesses, and all of these things that if I hadn't have received those services, I don't think I would be here, to be honest.
Wow.
It really was life-saving.
Yeah, so that's what pulled you out of the dark, literally. You were in the dark, literally, and mentally, and just continuing with that. And so that is an important piece for people to know. Just keep getting support.
Just keep trying.
Yes, just keep trying, even if right now it just feels so hopeless.
Yep.
You can get to the other side.
Yep.
But you've done so much more than just get through it. And I love that your dog's cold nose is on my feet right now. Just as a side note. But it's you just decided at one point to take the reins of your life and really do something different. So tell us about that.
There seemed to be this switch in my brain that I came to the realization that you can't tell me I can't do something. Only I can tell me that I can't do something. And if you tell me I can't do something, then look out, because I'm going to prove to you that I can.
Yes.
And I remember I came home one day and decided that I wanted to learn how to downhill ski as a totally blind person.
Yes.
And my mom and dad both kind of laughed and said, sure, whatever. If you can figure it out, we'll pay for it.
Yes.
And I did.
Of course.
I found a ski instructor who was a whole ski program that was willing to work with me. And I've been skiing for 5 or 6 years now.
I love it. I've seen many blind skiers.
Yeah,
and
as a downhill skier. And it's one of my favorite activities that I do.
So freeing, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I had people tell me that I would never go to university, that I would be destined to be on social assistance and, dependent on my family for the rest of my life.
Why could you not go to university?
Because they aren't built for people with disabilities. And that's very true. There are a lot of systemic barriers, but I think that perseverance and that drive to prove people wrong and to live my life the way I want to has kept me going and is seeing me into law school soon.
Law school?
Yeah.
You go, girl.
Yeah.
Seriously. Well, and here's the thing, that if you can't attend university because they don't have the facilities to accommodate, what can we do to change that?
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, not you can't go.
Yeah.
No. Okay, what do we need to do here? Yeah. When people tell me, this is just the way it is, I'm like,
no, we can change that.
We can change. What can we do to change that?
Yes.
And so now look, so you are at school.
Yep.
At Ryerson.
I go to Ryerson University and I study human rights and law.
Amazing.
I absolutely love it. I live downtown Toronto. I absolutely love that. I have Licio here by my side to keep me safe and on track in the big city. He loves city. He loves the pigeons in Toronto.
Does he try to chase the pigeons? He wants to.
He wants to, but he's very good at holding himself back.
I'm sure.
But those Toronto pigeons, they're very bold. They'll come right up to him and just
there's a service dog. He's not allowed to chase him.
Exactly. Exactly. So he does very, very well. And I love it so much. I can't wait I'm graduating next year, which I'm a little bit terrified about.
Yes.
But going on to law school, hopefully, is the next chapter.
I'm just so proud of you. Are you so proud of yourself?
I am.
You should be so proud of yourself.
Yeah, I am incredibly proud of myself. Yes. And I think that I know that my mom is incredibly proud of me.
Yes.
My dad's incredibly proud of me, even though he's not here anymore.
Yes.
You know, he would be incredibly proud of the woman I've become.
Yes.
And I think that I really have learned how to live the life I've been given, as much as I tried to fight against it.
Yes.
And to try to say, this isn't what I want.
No.
I just, you know, I've learned to really embrace it and shape it to what I want it to be.
Well, we always have a choice, don't we?
Yes.
We might not have the choice we wish we had.
Yes.
And that's when people say, what do you mean we always have a choice? They say, now wait, there's a second piece to that. We might not have the choice we wish we had.
Yeah.
But we can choose with what we have been given.
Yep.
If you can take such, I mean, it is a tragedy to lose your sight.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We cannot sugarcoat that.
No.
But you are choosing to create something positive from that experience.
Yep.
And that's amazing. And I'm just going to go back, because part of what I also say to people is that grief shows no mercy, and sometimes grief doesn't care that it's not personal, but grief doesn't care that you're going through mental health issues, that you've lost your sight, that you're going through this. Your dad.
Yes.
A few years ago.
Yes.
And it's so funny, not funny, but I made myself cry when I read it, and I thought, okay, good, maybe I won't cry on the show, because I have Kleenex here in case we do.
I'm a crier too.
Oh, great, what a good combo that is. But so tell me about your dad, he was very supportive for many years.
Yeah, my dad, I was always a daddy's girl. I remember when I was little, he used to take days off of work to be able to take me wherever we wanted to go on an adventure.
Yes.
And so we've always been really close. My dad actually lost part of his vision, to diabetic retinopathy. And so I think we had a connection there that a lot of people don't have. Like, you can empathize with someone who's lost their vision 100%, but you can't know what that walk is like until you've walked it, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think that we had that connection, and he also struggled with his mental health around his vision loss, and so I think we connected over that. And so I think that he was always in my corner. He was always one of my biggest fans, and we miss him a lot.
Yeah. So your dad died in?
He died 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
On St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
And of a complication of diabetes and health and heart issues, and so he went quickly. He went peacefully. But he left a big hole where he was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you have parents that are great advocates, and then you go through that significant loss, and I'm sure that was, again, a very challenging time for you. I'm sure it still is, but at that time, did you really have a hard time getting past your deep grief with that? I think losing my vision had actually really prepared me for that kind of a deep loss. And I recognized very quickly that it wasn't something I could do on my own. Right. And so I found a support group, and I found counselors, and I got myself talking about it. And it was painful and it was hard, but I think that, it helped me move through that really quickly. Talk about it, ask about it. This is my whole thing. We think, I don't want to bring it up, but let's talk about it. And that's also a way of honoring someone's life and how they meant so much to you. Absolutely. Is keeping his memory and everything he did for you. That's with you forever. Exactly. And I think it's really nice. Like, death is so hard. People never know what to say when someone dies. You are preaching to the choir. Especially when I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. When you're 24 and you lose your dad. Because you're not supposed to lose your dad at 24. Right. And so people, all they could say to me is, I'm so sorry for your loss. Right. Which is a lovely sentiment, and I appreciate it. But what do you do with that? Yes. Nothing. I'm sorry for my loss too. Me too. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. And I'm trying to help create a culture of change where we open up these conversations and tell me about your dad, or let's talk about him. And so it's nice to find pockets of people who get that, and and who will give you the space to explore those feelings, to grieve openly, to be angry, to be sad, to be happy, to be joyful,
you know, all of the things.
Acknowledge all feelings. That's yes, absolutely. So that is an important message as well. So tell me a bit about your mom.
My mom is, she's a pretty fierce woman.
Yes.
She is also in my corner 100% of the time.
And her name is Diane.
Yes. Yep. And
hello, Diane. She's here with you
she's
today.
She's here on set. Yeah. And she is someone who has always gone to bat for me. Whether it was at school with teachers and getting me the supports that I needed, or you know, in the hospital, getting me the tests that I needed, or to see the doctor that I needed, or whatever, or, you know, just being incredibly creative about the way that she spends her money, so that I have always had when she and my father may not have. You know, losing your vision and needing all kinds of assistive technology to come with that. My parents spent tens of thousands of dollars and never questioned it, never blinked an eye, never said we can't. And they probably couldn't, but they did anyway.
But they did anyway.
They went without so that I could have.
Yes.
And so it's even today, as I sort of start to take my place in this world, my mom is always there with me, and she's there to support me in whatever way that I need help with, because I do still sometimes struggle. And it's great, you know, even if I can just send her an email and say, you know, my prof is giving me a hard time. Can you read this response for me so that it sounds good or professional, you know, even just to do stuff like that. She's there for you. She's there for me.
And I love that she's always been there for you. I just wish, and this is also something that we need to change, I wish she didn't have to go to bat and it was difficult.
Yes.
You know, like it would just, let's just have those supports there, and they should be there, because not everybody has strong advocates. So I am so happy.
I'm incredibly blessed to have the parents that I had. My story, Lucio, you're okay.
It's all right.
Sweetie. You're okay.
We're boring the dog.
He's done. His conversation's moved past him, so he's over it.
He's over it.
I am incredibly blessed to have the parents that I have. I mean, I have so many friends. I know so many people who parents just didn't have the knowledge or the resources or the emotional capacity to help their kids through this, right? And I see them struggling and, you know, trying to make sense of their life, but they're really struggling.
Well, and you know, that goes back to the whole thing, and we talked a little on the phone when you were losing your vision and people don't know what to do and they don't know what to say, or when your dad's grieving. We need to just show up for each other.
Yeah.
You know, we can't fix it. We don't want to sugarcoat it, but we can show up for each other. And that certainly makes a lot of the difference, doesn't it? All the difference.
Absolutely.
You don't have to fix it. And that's the problem. We're very uncomfortable. If we can't fix it, then we avoid.
Yes.
And that creates excessive suffering, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's a lesson that my family has had to learn. Both my mother and my father, and then in turn me, are fixers by nature. It's always like, what's the problem? What's the solution? I'm here to save the day. Like, let me at it. And that's a very practical skill to have, because sometimes there is a very real problem and a very real solution that you can implement. But I think that that's where a lot of growing has come. And I'm so grateful for a lot of the friends that I have in my life who are willing to just sit there in the muck with me.
Sit in the mud, can't fix it. Yes, it's awkward and it's uncomfortable. Just show up anyway.
But I'm here.
I'm here. It's mud. But and I'm not going to try to clean the mud.
No.
We're just going to sit in it.
We're just going to sit in it.
We're just going to sit in it.
And eat ice cream.
And eat ice cream in the mud. Absolutely. Tell me about Blind Girl Inc.
So this is our latest venture.
Yes.
Very excited about it. So we do motivational speaking in high schools, elementary schools, businesses, whatever, conferences, whatever someone needs. We can do a motivational presentation on bullying, mental health, disability, leadership, girl power.
All of it.
All of the things. Death and dying. All these things. And then I also have, and this is more the academic side of my brain, of consulting, business consulting around accessibility laws and disability rights, and you know, making your workplace accessible and things like that.
I just think this is so extraordinary. And well, I told you when I was writing my book, one of the first stories I heard was Homer, who lost his sight at the age of 17.
Yeah.
And when you told me that, oh my goodness, this is a message from Homer, because he had a service dog.
Yeah.
And he lived his life to the fullest.
Yep.
And he became a mentor and an advocate for people with disabilities, and he golfed, bowled, and had 5 children.
That's amazing.
So there, you are a voice for change, because you can have a full life.
Yes.
Despite the cards that you wouldn't have chosen.
Yep.
But they chose you.
Yep.
Right? And did I hear that your mom speaks as well?
Yeah, so my mother, she's joined into the game as well, and she does parent groups or workshops for parents or educators around, you know, helping a kid through bullying and mental health, helping a kid with disabilities, funding post-secondary education, anything and everything really around being a parent with a kid who's got some stuff.
Some stuff. What kid doesn't have stuff? And could you have seen 10 years ago foreseeing someday my mom and I will work together and we will be the change we want to see in the world. Blind Girl Inc. We will motivate people. And it is people's stories and you sharing your story, and that will inspire more people than you will ever know. And I'm in awe of, you're young, you're wise, and doesn't mean it's easy.
Nope.
Right? You still
have
struggle?
I hate being blind days.
Yeah.
And I always
hate
will.
being blind days. I love it. I love it.
But I think more and more there's, you know, to every one I hate being blind days, there's 10 this is my life and I love it so much.
I love it. Can you believe we're out of time already, Michelle?
Oh my goodness.
I know. We have so much more
by.
to talk about. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
amazingness. I love that we've met. I know we're going to connect again.
Yes.
Blind Girl Inc. People should check it out.
Yes, 100%.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us today on Real Life Talks. This is about learning how to just show up for yourself and others, and to be empowered and resilient, having hard conversations sometimes, or talking about things we don't usually talk about. So if you want to be able to just show up, you want to be empowered and resilient, my call to action, as always, is plan your life, plan your death, and then just love your life to death. And always bring your own tambourines to the party.